This is Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema. And with me today to discuss the best Down syndrome film of 2005, it is Hans.
Oh man, now I have to Google how many Down syndrome films are there in 2005. Is this like a crop of the what's the phrase? Cream of the crop? Or is it the only one?
Well, would you say that Down
Retarded?
syndrome, Nazi, racist, sex films are a niche genre of movie?
I think still. Wow, I just Googled Down syndrome movies in 2005 and what is it came up. So I guess there's not many examples. Oh, The Ringer was 2005?
There's a couple of
Would you say
downs
this is
in
better
that.
than The Ringer?
No, I like The Ringer more, I think. Sorry, spoilers ahead for the
Yeah.
review tonight. I enjoyed The Ringer more.
The only thing that I remember from The Ringer is that there was like a mistake that one of them did, like a what do you call them? Fuck, can't think of the word. Okay, so in one line, there's one line where someone improvised a line and he said, "Yeah, when we went for ice cream or whatever," and the retarded goes, "When did we go for ice cream?" But that was not part of the, and that's like a mistake on the movie, and that just sticks in
Wow,
my
little
head.
Hollywood magic there. That's very.
Yeah,
I got to revisit The Ringer. You know what? I enjoyed it
blooper,
back in
blooper. That's the word.
2007, 2008, whenever that first. What was that? The Farrelly brothers did that movie.
I think so.
Mm. Well,
Ooh.
you know this movie comes courtesy of Turntable Troglodyte, who sponsored this episode for $100, and you too can sponsor an episode of Movies by heading on over to patreon.com/lowres and paying the monthly fee. You'll be able to decide any film within certain bounds. And this is really not pushing it. We've gotten
Pushing it.
worse. We've gotten worse before. You feel like I get the sense that you are morally opposed to this movie.
No, I think I there was a lot that I wasn't expecting, I guess, but I
Oh,
don't know if
that
we've
can be
seen
said at every
anything.
turn of this film. I wasn't expecting a single frame of this movie, and yet it was on my TV today.
Well, have you? I don't think there's been any other movies where you see a homeless man and his penis that can't get hard getting masturbated for what it feels like 5 minutes and it still doesn't get hard. I'm sure it was more than 5 minutes because there's cuts. So, just a floppy homeless man that's completely naked on a cloud getting jerked off by a big titted something. And then later, there is a Down syndrome man and girl, and she's getting her vagina touched by him. Uh, no, what's the word? Rigor, no, intensely. So I think when it comes to the movies that we've covered, I don't think any of them ever had Down syndrome fingering and homeless jerking off.
No,
So that's
certainly
why I
not. And
think.
I would say that the closest thing that we've covered on the show to this that has been in this murky territory is Uncle Tom. What was it? Goodbye, Uncle Tom.
Goodbye.
Because there's certainly some
Maybe.
illegal aspects of the movie making in that are present in copies of the film to this day. This movie
Well,
doesn't
I
cross
don't
that
know. I don't know
line.
if it was. I don't want to say illegal. I don't think that's the right word. I think it should be called off the time, not illegal. Just things of the time that maybe are
But was it of the
not
time? I
seen
think it was
as
of Haiti. I think it might still be of Haiti for Goodbye,
maybe
Uncle
fair.
Tom. Well, I don't know what the legal standing, but I know certainly there are parts of that movie that would never, ever be made today. And this film, it's not surprising that it was made in 2005 by one Crispin Hellion Glover. He seems to be getting his edgelord instincts out at
Ugh.
way too late of a time. He's about 40 years old when he makes What Is It? It's the same year as Batman Begins. So that's the competition
Mhm.
for best film of the year that year is this movie and Batman Begins. Christopher Nolan's getting his bearings as a big blockbuster director, and then off to the sidelines you have one Crispin Glover who is frequently fan cast on these message boards for the Joker. People were always like, get Crispin Glover as the Joker. And clearly, if anybody ever watched this movie, that would never happen. Although if you're putting
Mhm.
yourself in the 2005 mentality, this probably wouldn't have made a difference. That's kind of a 2016 to 2021, we can say, era method of thinking where you
Mm,
would make this type of art film, which is so extreme in many ways, and a little try
yeah,
hard, frankly. I think many of the
a little.
blackface, the swastikas, here's what it felt like to me when we were watching this movie. It felt like Crispin Glover was inspired by Hans Jürgen Seiberberg and started doing these stagey shoots with the actors, like the guy with cerebral palsy and the woman in the mask who's jerking him off. And he's the only
Yeah.
normal functioning person that is present on the set and is trying to carry it. And he just wanted to do something explorative in that way with his Charlie's Angels paycheck. But I'll tell you what, the thing that I enjoyed most about the movie was every time we were outside of that space and spending it with the Down syndrome actors acting along, not when he's getting touched, but spending it alongside each other because it started to remind me of a Pete and Pete episode at points.
Okay. Right. What was the strong man? Artie? Wasn't he kind of retarded?
Dude, he's in everything. I
Do
just
you
watched a David Gordon Green movie called The Nutcrackers on Hulu, and he pops up in that. He's everywhere. I can't watch a movie without Artie, the strongest man in the world, coming up.
do you think this type of movie would never be done now, or it's probably being done by weirdos like Crispin Glover that never show it to anyone just because they have the money? Because I'm sure he's not the only artist. And I do this because I think he's a fucking hack. I think this sucks. I think this is irredeemable completely. But
Wow.
uh and and I hate how he's the typical Hollywood artist where he's difficult to work with because you don't understand his brilliance. And if you cast him, you have to put up with all his bullshit just to get 3 lines from him. I hate that shit. But
Well,
I
hold on. Well,
think
let's pause on that note because you worked with an. We just finished wrapping a movie a couple of weeks back, and you worked with an actor who worked with Crispin Glover on some very small movie. And do you remember the story he told about Crispin Glover?
what was it that he would just he spent a lot of the budget on this giant like cowboy boots, very pointy cowboy
Big
boots, I think
red
it was, and
cowboy boots.
yeah, he disappeared for like 5 days or whatever, and then came back and was like, "Yeah, well, this is I'm gonna give you this, and that's all you get for me, or whatever, something like that." My memory, but
The story
just
was that
difficult, you
Crispin
know?
Glover demanded $5,000 of the budget, or else he wasn't going to act, and he wanted his character to have
Oh
these
yeah.
very specific red cowboy boots. And so they were shooting in Massachusetts. They went off to New York. He went off to New York with the $5,000 because he was like, "You do that, or I'm walking." And then he came back, exclusively spent the money on these cowboy boots that probably never come up in the movie. So that's Crispin Glover. And he is a Nepo baby. He is the son of Bruce Glover, who was a famous actor and worked on some of the 007 films. So he's probably this very spoiled silver spoon kid who was used to getting everything he ever wanted. And that's why you have this movie, because he probably had a very normal upbringing in spite of his weird middle name,
Hmm.
Hellion Glover, and tried to get it out at some point. He just had it pent up, built up. He was doing Back to the Future. He was doing Friday the 13th, Part 4, River's Edge. He was playing some weird characters here and there, but he wasn't the Crispin Glover that we acknowledge today as Crispin Glover. And that is how we got What Is It?
Well, it's that thing, right, where you're a Nepo baby, like you said, but you believe that your voice should not be seen as that. So you try to separate yourself as much as you can and put yourself in the struggle so that you can be seen as a real artist, even though you don't really have to struggle for any of it. So it's like I'm just going to eat this plate of shit and record myself doing it because I'm an artist, but I'm rich and I have 3 houses, so there's no reason for me to do this. But it would validate me as an art. Like I feel like he's that type of person where he thinks that he has to just do outrageous shit so that he's seen as like different or like I'm really into this. What's the thing in the movie? oh, my suit made of human flesh or whatever the fuck. It's just like fucking shut the fuck up. You know that type of thing where it's just like
Yeah.
you couldn't have a conversation with that type of guy. Like I couldn't have a conversation with that type of person because they're always on playing whatever the character is that they're playing at the time, and I can't stand. That's one of the things about actors. One of the things about actors that really just uh, I can't.
Well, luckily we didn't deal with anybody who was quite like that in spite of certain fears. Maybe
Uh,
one person who started to like took one step into that territory and then walked back. But for the most part,
yeah.
everybody was totally functional and normal on this movie we just shot. So I'm pleased about that. And I not to diverge from the movie too much. What is it? The movie too much. But I've been noticing comments, people asking, "Hey, is Mass State Lottery still coming out this year?" And here's what I'm going to say right now on this, as of December 5th, 2024. Yes. So
Have you
just
been noticing for the past 3 years that everyone's just like, when is this shit coming? Is this a tax write-off? Yeah, so it's not a tax write-off officially.
officially, no.
Do you have a date?
No, well, find out on the next episode of Movies, a podcast about the act of
Yeah.
cinema. Maybe we'll unveil a date there and then. I mean, listen, I've had a couple of venues that were offered to me in the past week for premiering this movie that I think we might be exploring right now. And that would require Hans coming back into it. So there are some things to figure out. I mean, it was originally going to be early November when you were coming in, and then that turned into, why don't we just shoot a brand new movie? Hold on, let's just put this on pause for a second because we can probably pick this up in December. Let's just shoot a brand new movie while we have the money and the availability, because who knows what the next couple of years wind up looking like. It's already been a gap period of 3 years since we shot anything film related. Let's take that
Mm.
opportunity and really seize the moment. And what we got is sterling, is very funny stuff. I'm very happy with it. We'll promote that later on, but Mass State Lottery will be available in some form for those people who do want to watch it before the year's over, before Christmas.
Yeah, I think we just kind of decided to prioritize shooting the movie because figure if you're gonna show it, let's say we show it on a weekend, or even if we show it sometime during the week, like I could just fly in and out and it won't be that, that difficult as
Yeah.
opposed to we have 11 days and we have to shoot a full movie in 11 days and also try to figure out how to show this other movie that we have. So that would be just too much for the small amount of time that we had. And it would be much better to just get that done and then figure out the release before the year ends.
Yeah. So that was the method of thinking when it came to this last round of you visiting the United States. This is our first proper show back. The last thing that we recorded was our review of Ralph the Movie Maker's Whispers in the Shadows. I don't even remember the title of this thing. No offense to Ralph. I had a good time at the movie. I'll say that. I had the best time of those four movies that played with Ralph's movie. No question about that. And that was still kind of like a little hiccup show where DC's audio apparently went to shit. My audio wasn't the best. I was away. I was in Massachusetts visiting for Thanksgiving. And this is our first proper show back on schedule, back to business. So we got some catching up to do. We do have a couple of $100 tiers to cover. And if you haven't had your movie covered just yet, don't worry, we're getting to it. We started with this one. This one's kind of a light
You just go
light
back.
viewing.
Yeah. Is it? I thought it was very
Well, it
heavy.
was only what, like an 80-minute movie. I can't be too mad at this. There were some things I really liked about it. I enjoyed the choice in the soundtrack. I mean, honestly, if he just stayed on the retarded people, I would have really loved this movie because I thought they're funny and they're not even trying to be funny. But the kid looking at the snail saying, "I love," and he might not be a kid, he might be
Smashing.
60 years old. "I love you," and then he fucking smashes it for real. I was like, because I can put myself in the headspace of Crispin Glover that day, being like, "Say I love you to the snail. Say I love you to this," and knowing what that is, what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, that's funny because I can put myself in the mindset of the retarded guy in smashing the snail.
Well, I was,
Ew,
I shouldn't have been surprised, but I guess maybe it's just I have these expectations now because of how movies are done these days. Even if this is Crispin Glover's clear, I'm gonna go take $15,000 and shoot this thing on my own project. I was like,
Oh
they actually
God,
killed the
that's so
snail.
much.
That snail got fucking squashed for real. Was it worth the
But
life of the
he
snail to produce this
he
movie?
I don't think so. But he didn't know what he was doing. He was, he was
Oh,
doing
he
his love.
knew.
He he didn't
I don't
he
know. We
didn't know
always
that he was an
kill
oh.
the things we love the most, right? That was the lesson we took away from O.J. Simpson.
Do you remember the little scene where he's sitting next to his two girlfriends or whatever? Oh no, no, no. Sorry, I wrote down. So we have, as you mentioned, a guy with blackface, which
Yes.
at first you think, okay, so they only show him for a couple of seconds, so okay, I get it, trying to be shocking or whatever. But then he comes back,
No, he's
and
one of
there's
the
a
main
lot
characters,
more.
in fact.
Yeah, he does a lot more than just, let me just pull up. Let me just, because at first our friend, and sorry if the screenshot is not the best, the copy of this that we found, I don't think we were even supposed to be watching this
No,
because
this was
he only
clearly a
shows it, and
screener. This had to be a screener copy because the version that, I mean, first of all, this movie was kind of hard to get a hold of for whatever reason.
yeah,
There's not a good, readily available copy of what is it. Maybe it's on his website. You got to buy a DVD or something. But what I wound up watching, I believe, was a screener that was sent to somebody and had the person's name on it, and the person's name was blurred out, and that was part of the movie
yeah,
for the entirety of my viewing experience.
yeah. So you can see it here at the bottom, the blur right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that what
okay.
you're
So
seeing
at
there is
first,
whatever the person's name was that was assigned this copy.
yeah. So you see this guy at first like this, and I was like, okay, so I get what he's trying to do, but he's not brave enough to show the full face. The extreme close up. That's not the full, effect of it. And then he just, you know, but at the same time, is it just me or does he just looks a lot like Mr. Big Head, Rocco's in Rocco's Modern Life's
Yes.
neighbor?
Wow.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. There is that vibe to
Yeah,
him.
that's the first thing. Let me pull that up. So yeah, there's a lot of little things like this. In the movie where it just I mean I was trying to figure out what the movie was about, and then I think there's like maybe three plots going on at the same time and then there's none, so this guy, huh. But anyway, uh there's the initial story, if you want to call it that, which is when you have the Down syndrome gauntlet there where everyone's just fighting, attacking each other physically. Then you have the Crispin Glover arc, which is where he shows up wearing his flesh jacket, and
Oh,
all he
is
does is
that
like,
what you would call what his character goes through? Is an arc?
I mean, I guess his
I don't think
story,
any of
let's
these
say.
characters have an arc. There's nothing conventional, excuse me,
Yeah, nothing.
whatsoever about the storytelling, about the characters, which is fine for what this movie is, which was
Yeah,
clearly his little pet project. That's okay. And it was just again the whole time I wasn't really absorbing what he was trying to do because I could understand where it was coming from. It was just him getting something out of his system here because he's really throwing so much quote unquote offensive shit at the wall to see if he can make something out of it. You have, was it like Johnny Rebel or somebody on the soundtrack at the beginning where it's uh uh not all blanks die, they just smell that way. I was like, "Are you
yeah,
fucking kidding me with this?" I mean, listen, it's one thing. I mean, I'm not protesting here. Maybe we need this in like the new Terrence Malick film. I don't know, but the soundtrack decision is very interesting. I'll say that. That's not what I meant earlier when I said I like the soundtrack. I was liking Wagner. So listen, you have that.
well, we also had Charles Manson, right? Part of the
Yes.
credits is like Charles Manson and his singers, and I was like, "Is this a joke? Is he making a joke?" But no, you can clearly hear one of the songs is one of those. That's what his music used to sound like,
Hmm.
just like kind of protest, like acoustic. I think
Hmm.
that's what it was. I'm not sure if that's what his
I
song
don't know.
was,
You were
but
doing
you
Bob
heard a
Dylan
song
there
like
for a
that.
second. I think that was the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan film. No, I mean, I Charles Manson's music. I've looked into it before, like the newer stuff. Anyway, the older stuff actually is produced, but the newer stuff is public domain. So I was like, ooh, maybe it would be interesting. This was many, many years ago. Maybe it'd be interesting. But it's all shit. It all sucks. I would never use that,
It's
and it's
terrible.
all
Yeah.
really rough recording quality too. So yeah, Crispin Glover, I think, is just he feels like a kid at Hot Topic in 2006 making this movie. He's really trying to stand out and make his voice heard, but he doesn't have anything to say. And I think that's the biggest thing is if you had all these components and you
Hmm.
had a particular mission in mind to fulfill with it, I think that would be at the very least fascinating. But instead, what we have here is just a dream board of not nice shit.
Just awkward, just very awkward. Like I guess you kind of understand what he's trying to do, but I don't think any of it works. I think
No, it doesn't.
some of the Down syndrome scenes kind of go on for too long and then they go nowhere. So you're just kind of like, okay, I this is funny. You could have caught it better, but I think he just kind of just lets him go, and you kind of have to restrain them a little bit so they don't go wild, and some of those scenes just went on for too long. You were expecting something, and then nothing would happen other than them just doing the same thing over and over again. But then you have the ego part of his character, right? Where he's like acting like a god and then talking to these Down syndrome girls, being like, "Oh, does my coat turn you on?" So it's just like just being edgy, but with nothing to say other than I guess I'm a Hollywood guy and I'm creepy. Like that's the thing. Like I don't think there's a underlying and if there's an underlying message, maybe I'm just too dumb to get it. But I was like, okay, so sometimes when you watch experimental show like this, you try to figure out what they're trying to say. But with this one, it just feels like you said, just like a spoiled kid with money that is just like, oh, well, Down syndrome people acting would be edgy. Oh, having a couple of Down syndrome perform sexual acts on camera, that's edgy. Oh, what am I trying to say? I don't know, but I'll show it. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of I'm showing this. Why are you saying with it? Oh, it's there. Hey, it's edgy. And then at the end, you're just kind of like, okay, so it's just a collection of things that you thought would be edgy at the time, and I mean they are because you wouldn't put
At
that
the
on a
time, less
theater.
so. Sarah Silverman was
Yeah,
doing
fair enough.
blackface on her
Yeah.
sketch show. It
Oh
was,
yeah.
I mean, listen, people were talking about what is it and being
Mm.
kind of appalled by its existence for certain. I remember those conversations happening and people going like, "Have you gone to Crispin Glover's website and seen his movie, or have you?" It was a talking point for sure. But the way that he approached it, and this is just me projecting this, really feels like he tried to put the most offensive components together and be like, well, what's your problem with it? What do you think is wrong with it? I made art. This is an art piece. That feels like the motivation behind what this movie is. And again, that's not to say that I disliked the movie or that I had a problem with the movie from a moral standpoint, which I don't.
No.
I don't think there's any lines that are crossed. I think there's certain interesting iconography to the film with like the swastika Shirley Temple, the recurring bit. That's kind of like weird in a facet. Maybe at the same time, I've been watching John Benet Ramsey documentaries, so maybe that's why.
What do you think he was trying to say with the guy in blackface being like, "I'm Michael Jackson" to the guy with Down syndrome? What do you think the message was there?
It's kind of hard to say. You never really understand the mind of a brilliant artist completely. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to insult Crispin by giving my infantile, limited ideas here about what he could be getting at. This is part of a trilogy. What is it as part of a trilogy? And I
What?
don't know. Yeah, you didn't stay for the credits. He says this will be. He
No.
does the Marvel. These Down syndromes will
Uh,
return in blank, and then
what is
conclude
it?
in
This
blank.
is number two out of three. Is there a scene
Mm.
like that at the end?
Now I don't know if we were watching a later like a later release of this, and if it was a later release, god damn. I mean, it's an AVI
Oh my
file we
God.
downloaded.
like I started playing it and it starts with fucking very high trumpet music, very loud. So I just fucking made myself deaf there for a second. Okay, so I have the. Is there anything that's not PG at the end? Because I didn't see
I
this
don't think
devil
so.
dancing stuff.
I don't believe so.
Okay,
Just go to
okay,
the
so
very,
let me
like,
check
literally
then.
the last few frames should do it for you. This is old. This is from
So
the 1960s. This looks like
oh, it says not
your Santa
PG
Claus
shit that.
versus Satan thing that you talked about on
Yeah,
the episode with Jerry.
music. Oh, there's two
Okay.
Manson. Johnny, what's the Johnny Rebel song called? So I can look for that. Oh, never mind. I'm
Ah,
not gonna
okay.
say the
Well,
name
there
of
you
that song.
go. Yeah.
Uh, there's the Jesus Christ, even the fucking name, dude. God damn. Let's see. All the families and guardians of the actors who helped me making. Can you imagine being a family member of one of these Down syndrome
The
people or a
mom or the
guardian?
older sister having to watch their Down syndrome loved one get fingered in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Arc Association of. Yep. Okay.
Bruce and Betty
Bruce and Betty
Glover.
Glover, of
Great
course.
job
That's his.
raising this boy.
That that's mommy and daddy, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Of course, he has to. There's a couple there. Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. What do you? What? David Lynch. Well, I guess it's just thanking them, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
Crispin never worked with Lynch. Tim Hunter directed River's Edge. Boyd Rice.
Mark Mothersbaugh. Werner Herzog. Okay. Technical.
Okay. All right, let's keep it
The
going. The
Downey
Downey
Cemetery
Cemetery
District.
District. What is that, a joke? This film has not advocated the assassination of Steven Spielberg in any way. Oh, yeah. Did you ever read his article, his little piece on working on Back to the Future?
Here.
There
Okay.
we go. Yes.
So.
So it was.
Okay. Okay.
Damn, did he get like fucking. The guy looked like R. Crumb, and we're watching him get jerked
God.
off in the opening of the movie. There he is. Cute. To be continued. Why? Stop jumping around. What the hell is the problem here? Oh, boy. Okay. So the next one is It Is Fine. Everything is fine. That's the sequel to What Is It? Is it playing?
What kind of? Yeah.
Oh,
I just don't have the music playing because it made me deaf a couple of minutes ago. But
that's okay.
so so what disability does he pick for this next one?
That's a great question. I actually don't know anything at all about the sequels. I saw that
We'll
somebody,
continue with part two.
Jeff
It is
Elkins, I
fine.
believe, on Twitter went to go see one of these movies at the Alamo Draft House and said that there was a podium in front of the theater screen. And at the end of the movie, he came out from within the podium. So he was just hiding in the podium the entire time and then started to read poetry from the podium. Wow.
Okay, so number two is it is fine, everything is fine, and the third one is it is mine.
Okay.
So if so I guess any of the listeners that want us to cover those movies, I guess another $100 because I'm never looking for any of these
Yeah, do you guys want to pay
garbage.
for us to
I'm
complete the
never
trilogy, the Crispin
yes,
Glover trilogy? Let's
because
let's pull up to see if it's on YouTube. Let's see if they have some clips on. I
okay.
would love to see what the escalation, what the evolution of the filmmaking here is, because the filmmaking in this movie, it's kind of hard to say because the quality of the video file is so 2005 or 2006. It's clearly a DVD rip from the time period because we downloaded an AVI file, which nobody uses anymore to watch. You'd have to use like VO player or something to get this thing going back then. But it looks competent.
Okay, so the second one might be better visually because there's a second director, David Brothers, who seems to be an artist.
Okay.
Uh, it says here he did radio dramas and then set designer. Oh, okay, never mind. So it might just be the same fucking shit that we see in this one. It's fine. Everything's fine. It came out in 2007. Psychosexual, fantastical retelling of the life of a man with cerebral palsy and a fetish for girls with long hair. So I guess we continue with the R. Crumb character.
That's the
Who,
one
by
I
the
would
way,
least want to follow for the sequel.
yeah. Did you notice when he falls from the steps and it looked like it real fall? Like the guy's paralyzed, I think. And he's like on top of a step on his cloud whatever thing, and he just falls stiffly onto the floor at one point right close to the end. And I was like, that was not a stunt. That looks like if he could feel his body, it would be very painful, but I don't
Hmm.
know if he can feel his body. But I was like, oh, that's method right there. Just a fucking five
Yeah,
feet
I don't
fall
think
for a
What
paralyzed
Is It
man.
had a stunt budget allocated to it. So, do we have a trailer for
Let me
It Is
see.
Fine, Everything Is Fine?
It has an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, for the 10 people that have seen it. Let me see. Preview. There's a preview. No, no. Uh, because
There's no clips.
there's another
There's
movie called
no available video that we can take a look at from this thing.
there's one from his Facebook page.
We have to
Let
watch
me
a
see.
Facebook video. Uh, okay.
Yeah, it's a preview from 2013. Let me pull
All
it up.
right. We're going to be taking a look at It Is Fine. Everything is fine. Now, here we go. We've got the countdown at the beginning here. This is a Facebook video. 4:3 has been kept.
Also, that's how slow the video is, by the way. It's not my internet. That's just how shitty the upload was.
Okay, so we have the R. Crumb character digging into a young girl's hair and making grunting sounds.
Okay.
She's shaking her hair in not natural slow motion. There's a old wino. Another girl. More girls. He's combing their hair. He's older now for certain. He looks about 10 years older from the last time we saw
It
him.
looks like Anthony. It looks like Anthony Cumia.
This okay,
Oh,
we got
oh,
sex.
oh
Whoa, you
no!
can put
Oh
boobs on
Christ!
Facebook? That's
I
crazy.
guess. Okay. Oh,
Oh, damn.
um,
Okay. Some naked girls getting run over by a wheelchair.
oh my
Got
God.
some
Okay.
older, deformed looking people. An old portrait of a woman.
Yeah.
An old woman. He had to have shot What Is It or parts
What?
of What Is It. Who's that
Oh
guy?
man.
Hold on,
Do you like his?
hold on. Who is Steven, whatever the guy's name was? Did Crispin not direct this one at all? Steven C. What? Stewart.
Hold on. Yeah, Stephen C. Stewart. I'll look him up. Hold on.
Crispin Glover only presented the sequel. It is fine. Everything
Well,
is
that's not
fine.
what. Hold on. What's his name? Steven Stewart?
Steven C. Stewart.
Stephen C. Stewart.
Was that the guy you were talking about before who co-directed it?
No, that was God damn it.
I didn't think so.
David Brothers?
David
It
Brothers.
says it was written and stars Stephen C. Stewart, but Stephen C. Stewart doesn't look like the what the fuck? Hold on. So this is what I'm getting from Google for Stephen C. Stewart. Doesn't look like he's the he might be.
He wrote the film.
Uh
Okay.
he wrote the film.
And then died before.
It says but it says an actor in it. How many actors do you have in the movie that's not just that guy?
Yo, hold up, hold up. Is that
But that's not
Crispin now? No, no, no. Ignore this. Or is that his dad?
this one. This one?
Yes. That's not
I don't
Steven C.
know.
Stewart.
I don't know.
What the fuck? Yo.
Oh my God, that's his dad.
Yeah, that's Bruce
Bruce.
Glover. He's got no teeth.
Yikes.
All right,
Why?
I think we're looking at Bruce
Is that
Glover.
another cool actor thing he did? He just took his teeth out
He looks like
just to
chubby
struggle for no
Vincent
reason.
Gallo. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the
Steve,
third
okay.
movie in the series. Let's ignore this one. This
Okay.
one doesn't have this one only was presented by Crispin. I think it's part of his unifying vision, but he didn't write it and he didn't direct it, I guess, or he only co-directed it. So I'm not as interested. Let's see the conclusion to the trilogy.
Well, let me see. According to IMDb, the credits, oh yeah, they do say that he co-directed it and Steven C. Stewart wrote it, so he didn't really have that much. Bruce Glover is in it, so that's cool, I guess. And then the third one, what was it called? It's Mine. It is
It is
mine.
mine.
Okay.
So we're going to be taking a look at that now. Hopefully that's on
Eh,
YouTube since it's the latest. But wow,
did that even come out? I don't think it came out.
I think it did. I think it's out. Is there an IMDb page for it?
Um, no.
I'm pretty sure the three movies were. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I could have sworn that the last one did come out.
Let me see. So we have Crispin's IMDb. Let's say produce
Maybe
maybe.
he changed the title. I
Well, there's only this three. Uh,
okay.
Untitled. Hmm. What is it called again? It is
It
mine.
is
Yeah, I
mine.
couldn't
You know
find any.
what?
It is
It
mine
is
in
mine on
IMDb.
Wikipedia is listed as TBA.
So
So
it never came out.
it never was
So
released. No.
sh- he's still shooting it. It's like when Ralph the Movie Maker took 15 years to write the script for his movie.
Hmm.
He's taken 15 years to make his whatever conclusion to whatever this is.
Would you have guessed that What Is It had a budget of $150,000?
Ch- That's not even like that's just upsetting. Like that's not. I'm not even surprised. I'm just like, well, where did that
That's the
go?
film stock budget, I think. For 2005, he's probably shooting on film, and that's where it really got eaten up. I think everything else was either a favor or very low budget by comparison. And it was shot over 12 days. So, see, you can shoot a movie in 12 days. Who else shot a movie in 12 days? I don't know. I really got to think about that. The other one actually
Yeah.
looks like, I mean, not that What Is It didn't look like a real movie. It did occasionally, but it is fine. Everything is fine. It looked like a real movie. It just looked like, okay, they only had one set. They had one retirement facility that they shot in, and they knew how to light it. It looked. It kind of reminded me of that Joe Piscopo movie we covered months ago for the show that somebody
Oh yeah.
sponsored. I
It
don't even
also
remember the
has
title
that.
of
I've
that.
never seen it. I've never seen it, but it has that red room from Twin Peaks feel to it.
Mm.
Is that a red room in Twin Peaks?
It's a red curtain
There's
room,
another.
yeah. The Black Lodge.
Okay. I think I might have found a different trailer for It's Fine.
Everything is
Just to
fine.
see.
Don't confuse the people. There's only, there's several movies called It Is Fine.
Yeah, never mind. It's the same thing. Yeesh.
Okay. All right. Well, I
Uh,
think we've
yeah.
officially crashed out on What Is It? Unless there's anything else you think there is to add. I mean, how do you even really objectively look at a movie like this and try to grade its storytelling, its performances? It's just something, if it just feels like, all right, you go to MoMA and then this is playing. You sit down on a little
Yeah.
bench and you watch it.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, how much did it take to shoot this $5,000? And you're like, no, you can buy a house with how much it cost to shoot this movie. You could feed a family of five. And if they're Latin American for 10 years with this amount of money. Yeah, I mean it's just like you said, it's a board of ideas without a point or a necessary through thread to put anything together. It's just kind of vignettes of I guess whatever he thought would be edgy to show and edgy to say without having anything really to say.
Mm,
And the edginess come from how jarring it is to see people with Down syndrome being violent to each other and being sexual with each other, and I think that's where the shock comes from. I don't know if I agree with the narrative that was when this came out, saying that this something that should not be watched or outraged at the content or whatever. I just think that it's just someone trying to be edgy. But there's unfortunately nothing behind it. Like I think I would appreciate it more if there was some type of message. I'm sure if you ask him, I'm sure he will have a half an hour answer trying to pull a message out of it that you can never get watching the movie. But that was my biggest issue with it, that it's just like you're saying nothing, and it looks like you're trying to say nothing other than just look at how edgy I am,
mm.
and I'm too old to care about shit like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't really finding appeal at all. So it's just kind of like, okay, all right, Crispin, well, you're an artist. We get you. You're you're fine. Daddy
Does he
loves you.
prove himself
You
to
know?
be an artist in spite of the? I refrain from saying embarrassing because it's not really embarrassing, but the off-putting, try-hard nature of the movie. Is Crispin Glover an artist?
I think I would tell him he's an artist just because I don't want him to continue speaking. So I would just be like, "Yep, you are. Yep, you don't need to convince me, Crispin." I mean, he's been in a lot of movies and he's been good in most of them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an artist that way. I don't know. Can Like, how can you validate if someone's an artist or not, right? It could just be someone that makes crayon portraits and
I think
they're,
people put a lot of
you know,
value on that title, and that's why
yeah,
it's looked at as pretentious if you assign yourself it or use that non-ironically. But I don't think it should really
yeah.
have any value. I don't see it as something of to distinguish you as on another level in any regard. Also, by the way, Crispin Glover did direct a third movie. It just hasn't been released yet. So, but it's not part of this
Oh,
trilogy. That's what I was thinking of. It's no title so far.
damn.
He's been acting
Okay.
only. I know he was in the Smiley Face Killers. When I found out they were doing the Smiley Face Killer movie written by Bret Easton Ellis, I was like, oh fuck, because that's Mass State Lottery. And I was like, oh well,
Yeah.
god damn it, Bret Easton Ellis wrote a fucking Smiley Face Killer movie, and it's directed by Tim Hunter, who did River's Edge. But then you watch it, and it is remarkably bad. It's they remove any
Uh,
of the interesting elements of the Smiley Face Killer theory or the Vanishing Men crime elements, and they set it in California, and it's just a bunch of shirtless guys. It's exactly what Bret Easton Ellis would have
of
written.
course. Of
So,
course. Of course. Hey, let's do crime, but let's make it gay. Let's
mhm,
make it super gay.
mhm.
Okay, Brett. All right, Brett. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I remember you mentioned that movie, but I feel like that movie kind of came and went. I haven't heard literally
It
anyone talk
hardly
about that.
came. It just showed up during
Yeah.
COVID after being delayed several years because there were problems, and they fired Tim Hunter for whatever reason and brought in a different director who took over. Terrible movie, and not any real competition anymore. By the way, Crispin Glover's acting debut was shared alongside Nicolas Cage for the TV show The Best of Times, and it was not
What
picked
is it?
up. It was just a 1981 television
Oh,
pilot.
just a couple of rich kids trying to get ahead.
Yeah. And then they
Yeah.
played characters, and
Well,
this is very unusual for a sitcom. Crispin Glover played Crispin, and Nicolas Cage played Nicholas.
ooh, what were they playing? Rich
I
kids
guess
trying to
a variety
trying
show
to
about life as a teenager as seen through the eyes of 8 actual teenagers who perform it's all that who perform skits, songs, and dances that relate their views between childhood and this
Oh,
sounds horrible. And especially with this cast, I mean it clearly obviously Crispin Glover and Nicolas Cage are talented, but you wouldn't put them on this serious variety show where there's no comedy, songs, skits, and dances that relate to their views between childhood and adulthood. This sounds like an atrocious, dumb
were
idea.
were they were they already 30 years old when they did this, or were they young kids?
I think they were teenagers. No, I mean it was about teenagers. The only adult on the show, it looks like,
Okay.
is Jackie Mason, who played Mr. O'Reilly. Betty Glover played Crispin's mother. So they were
Oh
trying to
God.
blur the lines between fact and fiction. I wonder if there's a video of this on
Was
YouTube.
so we have comfort systems starting young Nicolas Cage and young
Yes.
Crispin Glover.
I don't even think Comfort System. This is more like Roundhouse to me. This sounds like
Oh,
Roundhouse.
yeah, like Disney Channel, like early Disney. What is it, Mickey Mouse Club stuff? Or
Maybe
tried
not even.
to?
I mean, they didn't have the budget. So 60 minutes long. God damn. ABC. That sounds like a rough watch. No wonder why it only lasted one episode. Gee whiz. All right. I think that's it for What Is It? But let's just also give a quick update on things for the remainder of the show here. Some people have been asking, when is the next merch drop? And it's coming. We got some new items in the shop. I got to send out some exclusive items to the cast and crew. Everybody who works on a Forgotten Genres production will get a commemorative T-shirt or some item of apparel to remember their time having worked on the film, and I have to send those out first. But we're going to have the shop open once again. We managed to sell out the Young Leche shirts at the very last minute for Black Friday, which was terrific. Get those off my hands once and for all. We also had like a nice little surge of T-shirt sales. And the shop will probably be reopened by the time that this episode drops publicly on Spotify, which will be this coming Tuesday. So head on over there. We're going to have posters still for Mass State Lottery available. Max Thrax's audiobook for God is a Killer will be available. We'll have some crew necks, some sweaters. You're going to be able to dress yourself nice for wintertime, just in time for Christmas. They should sell Christmas trees in the
Yeah.
shop.
Yeah. You can pay for a cameo like message from us if you want us to sing a Christmas song for you.
No, that's definitely
That's going to
not
be
in the
available
shop.
on the.
That'll never be in the shop unless I wind up in severe debt. It's been pretty good. Honestly, the economy, I assume anyway. I don't know. I'm not really invested in stocks, but I'm going by my Coinbase. Thank you to the winning president here. The economy, the crypto economy has been surging, surging, surging. Everything's been looking terrific. It's been great. Don't crash, please. Don't
Yeah.
crash, certainly by the time this episode comes out. So, you know,
Yeah, the real economy though, that one's in the shitter. The dollar is less valuable than it's been in the past 4 years. That's not cool. That's not
dollar.
cool for people like me. Yeah, I make dollars and then I come here and I'm like, wait a second, my money's not as valuable as the local money anymore. What the fuck? So now I'm making less money than if I was working for a Costa Rican company. That's not cool. Can't wait for fucking Trump to get in.
You
For
need to
real.
ask
Like,
your boss to start paying
fuck.
you in Wojak, the Wojak crypto
Yeah.
coin. That's what
And
I've been
Doge.
invested in is Wojak. You can't see that. It's out of focus. Boom. There you go. Wojak. Down,
That looks
down,
like it's going
down.
down.
It is going down. But it's up.
Yeah.
It's up at the same time. You know, it goes up, it goes down. So
Hmm.
Wojak has been like a nice little, so that was a little, just sprinkle into bullshit coins like that and see what happens. And that one sprouted. That one was nice to me. So Wojak, this is not financial advice. I would never
Yeah.
give financial advice. Certainly not. The Hawk Tour girl, she's in trouble for launching her. People who don't understand crypto always have the same thing of, oh, it was a scam. We're going to throw this person in jail. No, it goes up and it goes down. It'll probably come back up a little bit and then it'll crash down again. People who lost their money were fucking stupid to put that into her coin, especially. This is the nature of these meme coins is they always go, and when they do that, you got to yank your sum of money out
Yeah.
immediately because it is always
Because
a
they're all
pump and dump.
scams. Yeah, always. It's like, oh, I can't believe you did to your fans. Really? The Hack Thua girl? You don't believe that in her values she would scam her fans that are
Well, it's not.
fans of
It's
her
not
because
even
she
a
said she
scam.
sucks
I
dick?
mean, it's not even really a scam. It's just you have to know how these things are going to perform, and this is not a long-term investment. If you look at it as a long-term investment, then you're just plain stupid. It's not really a scam. The rules are laid out. You can observe everything for yourself. If you really believe, oh, this is going to have some sort of utility that's going to go, no, 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 no. That never is the case. It's just you're playing a game. You're gambling. That's
Yeah.
all. It's not, hey, I'm putting money into Walmart, and Walmart's going to be this big thing someday, and it's going to no. You're hoping to cash out at like 80% higher than whatever you invested in, and if you don't do that, you're going to pay the price. That's how that works.
Yeah.
So people need to
So
get that.
invest in your LowRes coin that's coming out next week. It'll
You
be
know what?
up
I
for
would
about a
love to do
day
that.
before
I
we.
think that would be terrific if we started. If I looked into that, I'm sure. You know what? I bet there already is one. I was surprised I was able to get lowres.org for the merch site. Let me see. LowRes. Do we get a LowRes coin? LowRes? No. No, there's no LowRes coin.
There you
Uh-oh.
go.
I might have to scam some of you people. LowRes coin? No. I'm not
Hell
seeing
yeah.
anything at all.
Have Have you heard of this new streaming website where people do things for crypto? Like they pay you in crypto, and what they do is that they will sit on the stream and say, "I'm gonna do whatever if my coin goes up to whatever value," and then they just sit there on stream until the value gets up, and then they do the thing, and then they cash out with like millions of dollars. Have you heard of this?
No. I don't know what that. What are you talking about? This
I
sounds.
I
What
saw
is this?
I so I saw a video the other day. I wish I remember what it was called. I'll send it to you after. But there's this new streaming website where people get paid in crypto coins, and what they do is that you create your own coin, and then as you're streaming, they invest on that, and then you on screen you would say like, I don't know, I'll shit myself on stream if my coin gets up to 1 million, and they would sit there until the coin gets to that level, and then they do the thing. So there's been guys like there's a guy that what was the thing? There's some I don't remember what he was like eating dog food inside of a dog a little dog
Eating
house
dog
thing,
food
a metal
inside
dog
of a
house.
dog.
And so he would sit there with his face covered, and he would say, if my coin gets to $10,000, I'll eat this thing of dog food. So people would start giving them money, kind of like a red room, but less intense, I guess.
Yeah.
But like children are doing it. So they would just sit there and like wait to see if people give them money for whatever reason, and then they cash out. I saw this little like 10-year-old boy that was all excited because he made like $20,000. He was like, "Thank you for the 20 bands," and he was all excited. And then he just cashed out and left. So I mean, maybe this is something we could look into.
I was gonna say that kind of
Maybe this
sounds
is
like
how we
any
can.
of our YouTube live shows. Is we're just waiting for money to
Yeah,
cash out.
maybe that's how we save Kenny's life. We put him in front of a camera, and it's like, when we get to $10,000, you see his titties shaking. We'll put tassels on his
I
tits,
think
and then
hold
just
on.
do a
We
little
already tried
dance.
this, and this was called Comfort Systems. This was 2018, 2019. We did this already. It didn't really seem to do much for him. I mean,
Well,
he's
there
doing
was
well enough
for compared to
compared to like 3 months
define.
ago.
Okay, all right. Defined well. Defined well for me. This.
Here's what's happening with him. He's hanging out on a couch somewhere. He's working for no money, and his boss is
Mm,
giving him a place to sleep in exchange for missing 13 weeks of payment. So that's Kenny's
okay.
situation at the moment.
Mm. Don't you think it would be better if we just put him in front of a camera and say, "Hey, if he gets to $10,000, he'll
Hey,
dance, he'll
listen,
eat an egg."
when we shot Disorderly back in early November, I offered him that middle role that we were having trouble casting when Eggy didn't want to do the role. I offered him a bus ticket to come out and some payment, and he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that." I was like, "Oh, really? All right, I'll keep that in mind." Anyway, let's hit up Joshua, and Joshua was a
Yeah,
fantastic choice. Sorry, Kenny, you priced
amazing. And
yourself
then
out.
you got a call from his number that wasn't him. Remember?
Dude, that was so eerie.
He
That
was
was the
like,
spookiest shit in the world. Is we were drinking, watching something. What were we watching? Envy, Desire, or something.
uh, oh yeah, 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 one of those.
And then suddenly I feel like we were talking about Kenny, and then maybe an hour or two later, that call comes in from Kenny's phone, and I was when I picked up, it gave one of these automated, "Do you want to proceed with the call? Press 1," which is always like, uh-oh, someone's in prison. Someone's
Yeah.
been locked up. When you hear that, and I was like, oh, fuck, okay. And then it was
Is it
some
Buddy
Indian man.
back from the dead? Oh.
There was some Indian man on the other line, and it was Kenny's
Oh, man.
phone. And I was like, what the and he was like, I was calling a number that was in my phone. And I was like, okay, why do you have
Yeah.
Kenny's number? He's like, you called this phone in the past. I was calling back old numbers. I was like, this feels like Robert Blake in Lost Highway. I'm done with this. I'm stepping out of this conversation here.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird because also like you would be like, but who are you? And he's like, well, I'm calling this. Like he wouldn't tell you who he was. He wouldn't say anything about himself other than I'm just calling because you called. It's like, no, 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 I didn't.
No, I definitely did
What is this?
not. I think we were eating
Yeah.
KFC a minute ago. I was not calling
Oh yeah.
Kenny Dorsley.
And I remember that we thought, oh, so Kenny's either dead or someone stole his phone and something happened because what the fuck? But
Yeah.
he's alive and doing well, not making money, I guess.
Yeah, Kenny dropped by. Kenny, when I say Kenny dropped by, is Kenny said he would drop by, and then he tried to give the old "my pants are in the washer" excuse. We had a mutual friend, actor man from Comfort Systems, Gary Miller, who was in the area and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come by your place." I was like, "Okay, well, let me put myself together here." And our little friend group from childhood was Gary Miller, myself, and Kenny. And so I hit up Kenny, and we're in a group chat over iMessage. So he also knew, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I want to come out. I'm going to come out." And then eventually it was like, "Oh, yeah, there's no way Kenny's going to be able to make it out here. Even if he gets on the bus, it's going to take 2 hours for him to get here." So I was just like, "Kenny, I'm just going to get you an Uber." And so Kenny came out via Uber, and immediately, I guess he got grilled for hanging out with us. He was told not by me, not by Gary, not by anybody except his baby mama, "You look unhealthy. What are you doing? You look unhealthy." Kenny looked as healthy as I've ever seen him, to be quite frank. So it was a good
Yeah,
time
it's just
meeting up with Kenny, though, for the first time in a while. Water under the bridge. Him trying to cancel me on Instagram for not paying him when I offered to pay him several times. Come on.
I was gonna buy a poster and then I told my girl, I was like, you want me to sign the poster? And she's
And
like,
you
what?
know
You're in
what?
this movie? Your name's not in it.
He popped up on the last episode of the show, and DC kind of pressed him on it a bit, and his whole story fell apart or whatever. I actually don't believe he was trying to. I think he was actually agitated that his boss that he was working for at the time and is still working for, but in the video he's working on the job, I believe, wasn't paying him for 13 weeks. And then he targeted me because his baby mama bought a Mass
You
State
didn't pay
Lottery
him.
poster, and he wasn't one of the 5 acting names on the poster. But it's like, what do you want me to do? I didn't listen. I don't know what kind of weird passive aggressive games are being played in your household where she's buying posters because your name isn't on the poster. By the way, you guys can buy a poster at lowres.org. Head on over there.
Yeah. If you want it signed by Kenny, let us know too. We can probably get that done for a little extra.
Can you imagine sending him a poster to sign and having him send it back? It's impossible.
No, you would have to go. Obviously, personally, you'd have to go and have him sign it and then take it back yourself. You wouldn't get nothing back or, wrinkled, all dirty and,
Mhm.
you know,
No,
signed with pencil.
that's the best case scenario. What's really going to happen is it will arrive, and then he'll leave, and then he'll have a new home in a day, and then nothing will ever happen, and he'll forget he even agreed to do that. That's just Kenny's MO,
Yeah.
you know? So, but that's fine. Maybe
What
we'll
is
get him in on the
this?
next
Why
one.
did I get? He'll be like, why did I get a poster? My name's not even in this. And it's like, Kenny, you agreed to sign it.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a nice little wintertime gathering, and our buddy Jake currently is shooting a movie in Massachusetts. I was going to go and work on that, and it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anymore. I'm just too booked up between arranging what could be a Mass State Lottery premiere in the next couple of weeks, and also piecing together Disorderly movie number 2, which is coming together so great. Here's the biggest lesson learned here is when you're working with people who can memorize lines and good camera equipment and good audio equipment, the edit comes together so buttery smooth, and you have no worries, and it'll never take another 4 years of time. So maybe you get two movies in the next within like 6 months of each. Something crazy like that could happen. But I don't like that. I know Luca Guadagnino's got Queer out currently after he put Challengers out earlier this year. I think you got to keep it one movie a year. But anyway, do we have anything else to say before we close out the show?
No, no.
Okay.
I'm good. I thought you were just talking about him. I didn't know he had a movie called Queer. I thought you were just calling him that.
Well,
Just go
both things
queer
are
out.
true. Yes. So listen, if you want to sponsor an episode of the show just like this one and decide a movie for us to watch, head on over to patreon.com/lowres. Our previously known as $100 tier is now the listener-sponsored tier. And if you have submitted an episode for us to review, we will be doing that within the next week. So just hang tight. We're going to get those out of the way. Going to review all of them. And that has been Movies for this week. Thank you for listening.